Okay, Shelley, what brings you in today? Shelley Jane, a longtime patient of Dr. Winter's, usually came in for things like nervous anxiety or paranoia. In reality, it was the threads of the trauma her stepfather had left behind. Dr. Winters had been pruning them for years, and it seemed there was always one more to pare back. Winter assumed this would be just another one of these sessions, but she couldn't have been more wrong. Well, it was strange. I had an incident yesterday with my son. It was something I couldn't explain, and it made me think of my stepfather again, which nearly gave me an anxiety attack. Winter nodded, taking a seat as she tapped her pen on the page. That's unfortunate, Shelley. Is Michael okay? Oh, yes, he's fine. He's a little afraid, but he's physically fine. Pamela furrowed her brow, making some notes as she thought about how to answer that. Why don't you tell me what happened, and I'll see if I can help you make sense of it. Shelley nodded, looking at the ceiling as her face became slack. Well, I was at the sink, doing dishes, and I asked him to take the garbage out. He said he was busy with something, Legos or a puzzle maybe, and before I knew what I was doing, I said something strange. Strange? Winter asked. Strange how? I told him he better get that garbage out before Mr. Danver came to get him. And then I got the most profound feeling of vertigo and anxiety I have ever had. Winter looked up from her pad, not understanding. Do you know a Mr. Danvers? No, I don't know anybody by that name. It was weird, Doc. I just stood there as we looked at each other and hoped he wouldn't ask me about Mr. Danvers. If he didn't ask me, then I wouldn't have to talk about him. And I didn't want to talk about him. Mr. Danvers made me think of... Her face went blank for a moment before she shook it off. Think of someone in my childhood. Someone who told me about Mr. Danvers when I was very small. That would be the stepdad, Winter figured, and if she couldn't remember him, then the pruning was starting to work. Michael asked who Mr. Danvers was, and She paused, trying to find some way to explain it before saying, I sang him a song. Winter looked up from her notebook. A song? Yes, but I can't remember all of it now. Do you remember any of it? Shelley tried to remember, scrunching her face up like she might be in pain. And then something deeper than the state Winter sometimes put her patients in spread over her. Winter felt a cold chill work through her. This was different than anything she had ever seen, like possession. And when Shelley started speaking, Winter felt an undeniable pull of magic. He comes for bad kids, naughty kids, and kids that don't listen. He finds where they hide, and they go missing. When Mr. Danver comes to town, you better beware. When Mr. Danver comes to town, you better be scared. He's tall and old, with skin so thin. His hair is wisps, gray as tin. His teeth are sharp, his eyes are black. He'll drag you off, and you'll never come back. When Mr. Danver comes to town, you better beware. When Mr. Danver comes to town, you better be scared. Winter had shared the deepest pits of hell with demons that would make mortal skin crawl, but this was something completely different. Shelley hadn't even sounded like herself when she sang. Her voice had been deeper, like a hollow well, and the accent had been different from her normal southern drawl. Whoever had taught her this little rhyme had not done so out of a sense of legacy or love. This was a dark element, something kept alive through the span of generations by knowledge of it, and Winter doubted it was something told casually to a kiddo before bedtime. When she finished, Shelley blinked and looked around. Oh, what happened? I feel like I passed out for a moment. Nothing, Winter lied. What happened after you told Michael about Mr. Danver? He was terrified. I shook myself, and he was crying. I comforted him, telling him how sorry I was for scaring him. I hadn't remembered Mr. Danver for years and years, and I would have never told Michael about him. Scaring children like that is something I would never condone. Winter had set the notepad down and was slowly stalking towards the couch. Then what happened? Well, we went back to what we'd been doing. But then that night he woke up and he started screaming. He said there was a man in his room, an old man with long arms and legs and big sharp smile. It terrified him, and I just held him and cried with him. Winter slowly let her hands creep into Shelley's hair as she searched for the next memory to prune. He was there, Mr. Danver, and she could see Shelley's stepfather as he told her about him, grinning as he sang the song. He was gleeful about scaring her, and he used Mr. Danver's shadow to do all kinds of terrible things that Winter had been helping her forget for years. She yanked, trying to tear the terrible memory out, but it was like a weed. The roots were deep, and they stubbornly held on. Shelley was shaking and moaning as she worked to free her, and when the memory of Mr. Danver finally came out, she screamed like a banshee. She lay back, panting heavily, as the pain in her head receded. When she was finally still, Winter let her rest as she went to the waiting room and looked for her son. He was sitting there, reading a highlights magazine from last decade, and she invited him to the back as well so she could scrub the memories of that dark creature. Half an hour later, both of them were thanking her and walking out of the clinic. Winter waved, hoping the memories of the creature would be all that tied them to her. Juliet, what is our afternoon looking like? Well, we got 5 more patients, 2 adults and 3 children, and it seems they're all having nightmares. Winter furrowed her brow. What are the odds that this has something to do with Mr. Danver? Who? Juliet asked. Winter shook her head. Never mind. She headed to room number 2, where her next client was waiting. It appeared she had quite a workload this afternoon. And then Mom sang a little song about this Mr. Danver. It was creepy. I didn't like it, and it made me feel weird. It was like there was a worm in my brain, and it was wriggling in deeper by the moment. Then that night, the poor girl shuddered. Dr. Winter's fingers were deep in her mind. Mr. Danver came to my room and told me I better be good, or else he would come and get me. And have you been? Winter asked, her fingers pausing. I was always good, but I've been afraid to do much of anything since... She shuddered as Winter took hold of the root and drug it out. The girl, Deanna Breedley, gasped fitfully for a moment, but then, as the memories came loose, she settled back onto the couch. Dr. Pamela Winter sighed deeply. This was the 8th one this week, and Winter wasn't sure it would ever end. Children and adults alike seemed to be plagued with memories of this Mr. Danver. Winter had been wiping these memories as quickly as she could, but it didn't seem to be doing any good. The day before, Michael and his mother had come back and told her that Mr. Danver had come back to see Michael after an argument. The thing had tried to take him, but Shelley had forgiven him and Mr. Danver had left. The memories had come flooding back again after the argument, and this time they were even harder to pluck out. I didn't even remember him until Michael yelled, but once he had acted out, it all came back. It hurt, she whispered. It was like eels in my brain. I don't understand, Winter thought to herself after the last patient had gone home. He shouldn't be able to come back. If the memories are gone, then how can they even be afraid of him? Memories didn't work like that, not really. They could come back, but it usually took time. Memories were funny like that, and they had deep roots. They often grew back if you didn't go deep enough, but it always took a while. For them to just spontaneously emerge like that made this a particularly devious bit of magic, or whatever it was. Winter didn't like this. It was like an epidemic of some sorts. She wondered how to get rid of this Mr. Danver and his antics, but the answer actually found her first. She was getting ready to go to bed, packing up so that she could head home when a phone call came in. It was Shelley again, and she and Michael had a problem. Michael broke some dishes when he was washing them, and when I heard him swear, the memories of Mr. Danver came back all over again. Now I fear he'll be coming for Michael. Can you please come over here? Maybe there's something you can do." "Have you forgiven him?" Winter asked, already running as she headed for the house that Shelley had not far from Main Street. "If I do, then Mr. Danver will just go away. Then we'll have to deal with him again after that. You've done so much, Dr. Winter, and maybe you can help us get rid of him." Dr. Winter was coming up the road, the dark cloyingly close around her. The streets were barren, not too uncommon for this time of the evening in a small town like Kashmir, and Winter didn't mind putting on steam since no one was there to see. "I'll be there in 5 minutes," she promised, but Shelley didn't hear her. Winter could hear from the other end of the phone that someone was yelling, and the odd sound of scrabbling claws made it pretty clear that Mr. Danver had arrived. Dr. Winter came to the front of 546 Morrison Street and found the front door open. She came in through the door, but before she could give herself away, she saw the mayhem in the living room. Armchairs were turned over, a lamp lay broken, and as her eyes tracked to the stairwell, she could see the marks of nails that had gouged their way into the wood. Upstairs, she could hear banging and shouting, with an underlay of crying and begging. She came slowly up the stairs, careful not to make a sound. She wanted to come across this Mr. Danver before he knew she was there. Demons were always put off their guard when snuck up on. She came to the top of the stairs and found him battering at the door to one of the bedrooms. Behind the door, Shelley and Michael were screaming and begging it to go away, and Mr. Danver was promising 1,000 different punishments if they didn't open up. He would flay them, he would eat them alive, he would break their bones and grind their teeth down, he would wear their skin and eat their fingers, but he stopped as he sensed Dr. Winter. He turned, and Winter set her feet to stop herself from shuddering. He was a burnt corpse, a bloated creature with bulging skin of necrotized flesh. His arms and legs were stretched like taffy as they slipped from the arms of a suit he wore. The bowler hat on his bald head nearly blended in, and his burning red eyes seemed to jump out of his head. The shiver in her spine was gone, though. This was a demon who had come into her territory, uninvited, and it was about to learn a very valuable lesson about boundaries. "You must be this Dr. Winters I've heard so much about," he said, dragging his body across the carpet like an oversized bug. "I am," Dr. Winters said, squaring her shoulders as it rose before her. He laughed, getting closer and closer as his nails dug into the shag flooring. "I must say, for the whispers I've heard about you, I'd expected more. I gave that crafty old devil in the prison a wide berth, and I didn't let the guardian in the woods catch my scent neither. But the town was such a tasty treat that I couldn't resist. I see now that I had no reason to worry. You're just a weak little—" But he stopped talking as the hand he had been reaching for her with suddenly detached from its wrist. Mr. Danver popped back, but not fast enough. Winter caught him by the face and pulled him close, his skin splitting as she squeezed. He cried out, sounding as afraid as the two behind the door, but Dr. Winter would send her message before she sent this thing back where it came from. He would talk to others who might want to come and take her territory, and she wanted to make it very clear that this would not be tolerated. I could kill you now, put you down like the dog you are, but a lesson in manners will serve you better. Kashmir is my town, mine, and you and all your grubby little friends will stay away from it. Do you understand me? Before he could answer, she grabbed his stumped arm and tore it off. Mr. Danver screamed in pain, something he hadn't felt in millennia, she had no doubt. "Do I make myself clear?" she yelled at him. Yeah, please, just let me go. I'll never come back here again." Dr. Winters let go of his face and pushed him back. "If I so much as hear your name in someone's memories, I will hunt you down, no matter where you are." Mr. Danver sank into a shadowy mound as his aura dissipated from the house. Winter knocked on the bedroom door and told them it was safe to come out. Shelley and Michael peeked out, not quite sure if she was a trick of some kind, but when they found Dr. Winters smiling at them from the hallway, they came out and hugged her in relief. "Thank you, Dr. Winter. How did you get rid of that terrible creature?" Dr. Winters rested a hand on either side of their heads, sinking her fingers in as easily as if their skulls were clay. "What creature? I came to help mediate an argument between the two of you. It was quite a bad one, but I got the two of you to see a reason. I don't think you'll have any more problems. Do you?" They went from hugging her to hugging each other as they cried, saying they would never fight again. Dr. Winter left, heading home after a long day. She doubted this would be the last poacher she had to deal with, but she hoped the rest would be less spine-tingling than Mr. Danvers. You're still here. Thanks for stopping by. Dr. Plague here. Always a pleasure to see all my new and old viewers coming by for another one of my spooky tales. If you'd like to support the show, you can always take part in one of our channel offers through Fume or Aura, or you can just click on another video when they come up. I'd really appreciate it. For our newer viewers, we also have lots of playlists and other things if you'd like to get caught up. I know some of my series have been going on for quite a while. If you'd like to get my latest book, there's a link down below that'll take you to my Amazon page. Towesey Homestead just came out, so if that's something you'd like to get your hands on, go ahead and have a look down there. If you'd like a signed copy, you can go ahead and email me from my email address on the site, and I'll get with you about shipping information and ship you a signed copy. If you'd like to support the channel in a more monetary fashion, we also have membership through YouTube, and we've got a Patreon that you can get the information for in the description. We have lots of tiers and everything to suit your needs. Patrons that support on the $10 tier, that's our Ghostly Reader tier, get a book anytime I write one, signed and on their doorstep. As you may have noticed, there's a list of patrons and members on the screen, and I'd like to personally thank every one of them for taking a hand in the future of this channel. Well, that's enough for tonight. Dr. Plague, signing off. Have a wonderful evening.